We traditionally interpret ancient pantheons as literary characters, anthropomorphic metaphors for nature or psychology. But when the numerical structures of these stories are aligned with acoustic physics, the character-driven narrative falls away. Ancient Near Eastern mythologies and Platonic philosophy function as mathematically compressed files. They are dense repositories for acoustic tuning theory. These texts operate as technical manuals. Before the existence of modern notation, authors embedded exact fractional string lengths and frequencies within allegorical stories. These ancient narratives are the earliest known examples of applied data compression. Before the development of modern calculators, the physical mechanics of a vibrating string provided the only observable proof of abstract mathematical proportions. To see math, you had to hear it. Ernest G. MacLean's analysis indicates ancient authors used numerical allegory to map these specific string lengths. The central problem of ancient acoustics was the physical impossibility of constructing a perfectly closed musical scale. Stacking pure ratios creates an unavoidable mathematical excess or deficiency that refuses to resolve. Understanding the stakes of ancient mythology requires us to set aside literary analysis and perform the calculations of an ancient acoustician. The physics of the monochord are absolute. Having a string's length doubles its frequency. This 1:2 ratio defines the octave. This diagram shows the proportion bounding the octave: 6, 8, 9, and 12. 6 to 9 and 8 to 12 reduce to the 2 to 3 perfect fifth. 6 to 8 and 9 to 12 form the perfect fourth. The central tension is the gap between 8 and 9. This 8 to 9 ratio mathematically defines the standard whole tone in music, the exact distance between C and D. Projecting this linear proportion into a circle demonstrates how these tones form a continuous cycle, rising and falling within the octave boundary. This 6-8 by 8 to 12 matrix is the invariant mathematical scaffolding for ancient cosmology. The Sumerians managed this acoustic geometry through their base 60 sexagesimal number system. To perform calculations without decimals, they scaled the 6-8 by 8 to 12 proportion by a factor of 5. This ensured every subdivision remained a whole integer within the base 60 limit. This scales the matrix to 30, 40, 45, 60, numbers assigned to Sumer's highest gods. Anu, the sky deity, is 60, the reference tone. Enki is 40, generating the perfect fifth. Enlil, as 50, introduces the 4-to-5 ratio, simplifying 12-tone tuning. The high gods of Sumer are not literal figures in the sky. They are specific integer placeholders within an acoustic calculus. Populating this tuning matrix follows strict rules based on prime factorization, specifically primes 2, 3, and 5. In ancient numerical allegory, odd primes are male. They are generative, producing entirely new pitch classes on the string. Even numbers are female. They do not create new pitches, but simply replicate existing tones at higher or lower octaves. The multi-generational birthing stories of the gods map the prime factorization paths required to build a tuning system. Expanding this matrix reveals a physical problem, the spiral of fifths. Stacking perfect fifths never resolves perfectly back to the starting pitch. The values endlessly overshoot the octave, creating a mathematical spiral that never closes. Ancient mythologies visualized this unmanageable mathematical continuum as the Great Dragon. When a hero slays the dragon, he geometrically sectioned the string to enforce a rigid 1-to-2 octave boundary. We see this same acoustic logic in the biblical narratives of the Israelites fighting against giant adversaries. The giants represent the unmanageable, massive numbers generated by the unclosed spiral of fifths, values that threaten to break the harmony of the system. The Israelites win only with divine help. In tuning theory, this intervention is the introduction of a calculated, irrational error, called temperament, which slightly shifts the ratios to force the scale to close. These epic battles provide specific instructions for balancing the unavoidable physical errors in harmonic mathematics. Sumerian, biblical, and Platonic models all describe the same geometric phenomenon. Projecting the 6-8, 9-12 ratios and base 60 pantheon into this tone circle aligns them with 12 points. Plato's Poseidon and twin suns map symmetrically to these nodes. This perfectly mirrors the Sumerian water god Enki, organizing the scale's harmonic foundations. This cross-cultural consistency is evidence of a shared mathematical engine underlying ancient mythology. The most expansive example of this system appears at the end of the Book of Revelation with the description of the New Jerusalem. The text defines this city as a perfect cube of 12,000 cubic. This produces the number 1.728 trillion. In a small numerical field, the excess of the spiral of fifths exists as messy decimals. At the trillion integer scale, these tiny gaps are large enough to be expressed as whole numbers, allowing the scale to close perfectly without using fractions. These foundational texts are not primitive fairy tales. They are a highly disciplined, unified field theory of number, tone, and the cosmos.